We welcome you to another discussion of the four-squared optical system by AV Poles and Lighting, an elegant solution to LED or solid-state illumination today. Using the four-squared module, we talked before about some of its properties and such. Today we're going to talk about the pragmatism of it. It's a pragmatic solution to LED illumination. Now, it's an interesting word, pragmatic. What does it mean? It means dealing with things sensibly and realistically in a way that's based on what is practical. A person who's pragmatic is concerned more with matters of fact than what could be or should be. Makes it simplistic, it makes it easy. That's what we're really looking for here. Now, by way of review, the four-squared optical system in its construction is made up of an LED package available from Lumileds, a world-renowned manufacturer of LEDs in their Luxion series, the MX series, where you have 4 LED dyes contained under one lens and then 4 of those lenses packaged up together as a single unit. It's available with a color temperature of 4,000 or 5,000 degrees, CRI of 70. What this really means is that in that four-squared module, what we have is the equivalent of 16 LEDs, 16 individual 1-watt dyes producing illumination. Now, to control that illumination, we use the luminous silicone lens manufactured by Ledl. Ledl is a world-renowned German manufacturer and designer of optics for all kinds of different products, other than even in the lighting field. To transmit that precision, if you will, into the part itself, the luminous silicone lens is injection molded, which means that every part looks exactly the same, performs exactly the same. You have 96% transmission of light through the lens using the silicone material. Now, silicone for years, for decades actually, has been used as a gasket material in high temperature luminaires because of its heat resistance. And in the design used in this luminous silicone lens by Ledl, the heat resistance is good up to 200 degrees C, well above the operating temperature of the LEDs, which means that the lens will not deform or change shape and thereby change performance in the long run. And also, because it is made from silicone, it's flexible. That means that it's vandal resistant, as opposed to acrylic, which would be hard. A hard acrylic lens, if it's struck, could fracture or have cracks in it, which would impinge on its performance. In the case of the luminous silicone lens, it's flexible. Whatever would strike it would bounce right off without doing any damage to the performance at all. Now, the silicone lens is held down over this four-squared design by a frame that's either in black or white, complements the fixture color, the luminaire color. It's available in either 700 or 1050 milliamp drive current, which will produce an efficacy of up to 130 lumens per watt, depending upon the distribution that is called out for in 4000K color temperature. That package is also intended to meet an IP67 rating as far as its sealing against contaminants, both liquid and hard particles, so it maintains its performance over the long run. And if you want to rotate the optics in the case of an asymmetric pattern, a 2-3-4 pattern, you can do that. The individual modules are individually rotatable in the luminaires that they're designed into. Now, we talk about four-squared optics, simplicity leads to pragmatism. What does this mean? If we take a look at the more popular arm mount versions of the AV Poles and Lighting product line, what we find is exactly the same optical system, the four-squared optical system with nothing below it to change its pattern. Now, the Mariner admittedly does have a secondary lens to it. That lens perhaps impinges on about 2% of the performance of the four-squared optical pattern. But what this means is you can take any of the optics for any of these 5 luminaires, do a photometric layout, and change the luminaire body completely later, and you're going to have exactly the same performance. In fact, you don't even need to make the selection of luminaires before you start to do the photometric layout. Now, that's simplicity, that's practical, that's pragmatism, because your architect may decide to, or owner may decide to change down the road. Same applies when it comes to the post-top luminaires in either the contemporary or the traditional product line, in the sense that the open frame units will all perform the same. Now, They don't perform quite the same as the arm mount versions because there is a little bit of interference in one section of the output, and it's not the arms that support the luminaire as you would think, but it's the pole itself. Because in an arm mount version there is no pole directly below the luminaire, what you have is light that goes straight down from the luminaire, the fixture, to the ground. In the case of a post top, the pole stops that, and you lose about 5 or 6% of the overall output. But practically thinking, that's not the place that's the most important as far as the light output or light placement is concerned. The practical area there is at the high angles. And in this, the post tops perform virtually identical to the arm mount luminaires. So once again, the simplicity of this system and in the design of it is very practical when you're doing layouts and considering luminaires to use for various projects. That's just another view of the 4-squared optical system from AV Poles and Lighting. It's an elegant and pragmatic solution to lighting your site and really should become your solution in LED illumination on the projects that you work on today.